Thank you all for joining us for our SICSS-Howard Mathematica Funded Alumni Research in Progress Roundtable. During these Real Talk Roundtables, our hosting organizations, Howard, Mathematica, and SICSS, discuss the experiences of people of color within their institutions or offer tips and tricks for success. In the case of our SICSS panel today, teams who receive SICSS-Howard Mathematica Excellence in Computational Social Science Research Awards will be presenting their research projects in progress. They are PhD students, early career faculty, and postdocs who attended SICSS-Howard Mathematica site and were successful in getting funding. They are currently where you want to be. I would recommend you learn about their projects, listen to their trajectory, and ask them questions so you can create a project that gets you funding this year from us and also throughout your career. Participants at the SICSS-Howard Mathematica site will have a chance to ask questions about their projects and get to know them during the second day of Praxis to Power. For now, I encourage you to settle in, listen, and learn.
Hello everyone, my name is Asha Yadav. I'm a PhD candidate in Special Education and Clinical Sciences at the University of Oregon. I'm also a SICSS-Howard Mathematica 2022 alum. Today I'm going to talk about my recent study in Part C Early Intervention Referral and Eligibility Determination for Children with Diagnosed Medical Conditions. Here are some of my research interests. I'm currently studying, or I'm interested in studying early detection, assessment, early childhood policies and evidence-based practices, professional development in early childhood, inclusive education, children's social-emotional development, and issues of equity and disproportionality. So here is the background of the study that I conducted. Part C Early Intervention of the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act provides early intervention services to children from birth to 3 years of age who are at risk or with developmental delay or disability. Part C EI services aim to support both children and their families. Now, pathway to Part C early intervention is a multi-step process. It starts from referral that can be made by anybody, including pediatricians, parents, neighbors, relatives, or early childhood educators, or any other professional that works with the child. The next step in the process is intake. When the referral is received by the Part C early intervention agency in any state, they make contact with the family to understand more about the child and the family. The next step in the process is determining child's eligibility for the services. And then a detailed assessment is conducted of child's developmental and behavioral level to elicit child and family's needs. And then the child is finally enrolled in the Part C early intervention program to provide therapeutic and behavioral or developmental services. Now, the problem is in America, 10 to 13% of infants and toddlers are impacted by developmental delay, but 2 to 3% of these children receive Part C early intervention services in a timely manner. And also, as we talked about that Part C, the pathway to Part C early intervention is a multi-step process. One of the most significant, yet least studied aspects of this pathway to Part C EI enrollment are intake and eligibility evaluation procedures, steps that link the referral initiations from pediatricians to the Part C EI enrollment. Now, to enter into the Part C EI system, children enter either based on the developmental delay or a diagnosed medical conditions. When the referral is received on the basis of developmental delay or suspected developmental delay, a multidisciplinary eligibility evaluation is conducted, which means that two professionals representing two different disciplines such as occupational therapy or speech and language therapist or EI/ECSE specialist or physical therapist. So any two of these professionals, they conduct eligibility evaluations with the parent consent. And the outcome in this process is to determine child's eligibility, and this process can take up to 45 days, or legally it should be completed within 45 days. However, if a child is referred with a diagnosed medical condition that has a high probability of developmental delay, the eligibility evaluation can be skipped or omitted, and child can be directly enrolled into the services, shortening this 45-day period. And one more way the child can be enrolled in the services is in using informed clinical opinion, which means when child's eligibility cannot be established on the basis of developmental delay or diagnosed medical conditions, professionals can use their informed clinical opinion and can get the child enrolled based on if they are concerned about the child's development. However, the assessment or the evaluation tools are not determining child's eligibility, which means that child is not meeting the state threshold criteria for developmental delay, or parent is extremely concerned about child's developmental delay. Now, in this study, our hypothesis is that pediatricians do not know the state-approved list of diagnosed medical conditions and related policies and referral practices. So, to get the child into Part C early interventions, this is based on the diagnosed medical conditions. Most of these states across the United States have established a state-approved list of diagnosed conditions. This list widely varies between states and can contain conditions anywhere between 5 to 150 or 120. But we are not sure that if pediatricians are aware of this list and do they use it when they refer the child to Part C early intervention program. And also there is a huge variability in the referral and eligibility determination process for children with diagnosed medical conditions. So this study is guided by 3 main research questions. The first research question has 2 subparts. The first research question is, to what extent do Part C EI personnel and pediatricians have knowledge of the state-approved list of diagnosed medical conditions and related policies and practices in Michigan and Washington? So we specifically conducted this study in Michigan and Washington because both of these states got comprehensive detailed list. And I specifically wanted to see if the state has established a detailed comprehensive list. Is that list communicated across healthcare as well as Part C EI system? The other 2 sub-questions are, is there a significant difference in the knowledge of the state-approved list of diagnosed medical conditions across different professional groups and training groups? So in this study, we also asked if practitioners, Part C EI as well as pediatricians, did have any training related to state-approved list of diagnosed medical conditions and related policies and practices. And the third sub-question is, or the second sub-question is there a significant difference in the knowledge of the related policies and practices across different professional groups and training groups? And when I'm saying professional groups, I mean 4 professional groups in Michigan and Washington, Part C EI personnel and pediatricians in both the states. So these research questions are guided by methodology. The methodology that we employed to examine these research questions are concurrent embedded mixed method design, which means that I collected quantitative data, and within that, the qualitative data was nested, meaning participants who participated in or participants who responded to the survey questions, they were also asked to participate if they were willing to participate in the qualitative interviews. So I collected quantitative as well as qualitative data, and I'm analyzing that data set, both of these data sets separately, and as guided by this process, that I would compare, contrast, and interrelate the findings in order to answer each research question. Here are the other 2 research questions. What referral practices are currently being implemented between Part C EI agencies and pediatricians in Michigan and Washington? Lastly, I also asked if Part C EI personnel and pediatricians have any recommendations for improving the state-approved list of diagnosed medical conditions, as well as the referral and eligibility evaluation process for children with qualifying medical conditions. Here are some of the findings of the study so far. So at this stage, I have only completed quantitative data analysis. That means the survey findings. So this is just a partial data analysis I'm presenting today. So first is the To what extent do Part C EI personnel or pediatricians have knowledge of the state-approved list of diagnosed medical conditions? In this radar chart, we can clearly see that. So there were the questions that we had asked in the survey questionnaire had 5 statements, such as, I know of the state-approved list, and these statements had Likert type responses from strongly agree to strongly disagree. The 5 is strongly agree, and 1 here is strongly disagree. The black and blue is showing Part C EI personnel in Michigan and Washington, and green and red showing pediatricians. And it is clearly showing that pediatricians, the knowledge of among pediatricians is lesser than knowledge among CEI personnel. But what we are noticing here or observing here, does this difference is this difference is significant? So next question would answer, that was the next research question. But here first we would present about the knowledge of the related policies and practices. Similarly, we saw that pediatricians, the red and the green lines, is kind of all the nodes are showing the mean on each statement that we asked them. So the knowledge level is lower here as compared to Part CEI personnel, the blue and the black lines. But one of these statements is, I know of Part CEI referral process. So most of the professionals, including pediatricians, Part CEI personnel, they said that they know of the Part CEI referral process, but so far the qualitative, the semi-structured interview data shows that there is more to it. And many of them have agreed that actually they do not know the whole referral process. The bar on the top of 2 bar plots, or all these 4 bar plots, are showing the groups that are significantly different. And it clearly shows that there is a significant difference in the knowledge level of the Part C EI personnel and pediatricians. And it's not only within one state, across a state, also there's a significant. So here I'm presenting the difference in knowledge of the list among training or residency, and or they had training at work, or they had no training at all. We obviously had more participants who had no training at all, and the groups that had some sort of training either at work or during residency, and group that had no training at all, there is a significant difference between their knowledge level. Yeah, and here I'm presenting the difference in knowledge of the policy or related policies and practices among professional groups, and the results were similar. So there was significant difference in the knowledge level of pediatricians and Part C EI personnel, and the findings were same across states. And in this, again, the difference in knowledge of the policy among, or policy related policies and practice among training groups, the results were again similar, that there was significant difference between groups that either had training at work or during academic training or residency, and groups that did not have any training at all. We had significant difference in their knowledge level. And this was my third research question, that what are the current referral practices, or what are the referral practices that are currently being implemented? And I had mixed results here. So the questions that were asked from Part CEI personnel was like, do you receive developmental screening scores when they receive referral from pediatricians? And pediatricians were asked, do you provide developmental screening scores at the time of referral? So there were some disagreements and some agreements in this, but certainly interviews, shed more light on how these referral practices are implemented. And lastly, the fourth research question was about any recommendations made by Part CEI personnel and pediatricians across Michigan and Washington. Interestingly, the top 5 are similar or are the same across all the professional groups. So the first was like, distribute medical conditions list to pediatricians, training for pediatricians, and include the diagnosed or the state-approved list of diagnosed medical conditions in public awareness programs, establish county-wide communication system, training for Part C EI personnel. So my next steps are to complete text data analysis and triangulate the findings, and also to communicate the research findings promptly with state leaders. I will be building dashboard in Shiny R, and my aim is to complete that in the next 3 to 4 months, and share the findings with the state leaders in Michigan and Washington, not just using the dashboard, but also making some presentations for them, and also work on manuscripts to communicate the findings with wider research community. In terms of help and feedback, it would be nice to receive feedback on dashboard when it is ready. And now when I reflect on what went well and what did not go well, the project, it was completed everything went as planned, and data collection was completed on time, and support from stakeholders, including state leaders, such as Part C EI program data coordinators. There was huge support from them to conduct the data analysis, and findings aligned with my hypothesis. And in terms of challenges, there were some challenges in data collection from pediatricians, and it was hugely time consuming. It took like 6 months only to get the word out or find some contacts, as there is no system to reach out to pediatricians directly or distribute the survey to pediatricians. And there was some sort of resistance from pediatricians in completing the survey. But once they knew me, the contacts made, it helped to get the project off the ground. And couldn't interview intended number of pediatricians. However, concept of saturation was applied in the semi-structured interview data collection. And digital trace data did not go as planned due to technical limitations in the Qualtrics. So that brings me to the end of this presentation. Thank you.
Thank you all for watching. For more information on SICSS-Howard Mathematica, visit our website, follow us on social media, and join our email list.